On this episode of AV Week, we take a look at companies rebranding. AVIXA has a brand new report and the impact of the economy on AV. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 567, recorded Thursday, June 30th, 2022. AV Finances.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Crestron.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audiovisual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week. If you get your CTS in the next couple of years, you'll get this young lady's signature autograph, Rebecca Sullins. How are you, ma'am?
Lovely to be here, Tim, as always. And yes, go ahead and get your certificate.
Yeah, if you don't have your CTS,
I will certify you.
Should just to get Rebecca's autograph on your
or your D or your I, whichever you prefer.
And if you get your D and your I, then Mark Coxon will send you a CTS AF T-shirt. Chris,
I still want one of those. I don't have one.
They are really cool.
And I need to yell at Mark.
Well, I say that. I just volunteered him for something. He will not send you, but we'll figure something out if you send me an email. Because
Mark, I'm going to DM you my address. I expect one.
All right, there you go. Also with us is Chris Netto, who should hopefully get me out of trouble. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, but I don't need a CTS renewal. I have Rebecca's signature on my arm from Infocom. That's better than that. I've now tattooed it there, so there you go.
See, I have groupies.
That's how it works.
At least three of us.
You know what the funny thing is, Tim? You're sitting here greeting both of us here. Mm-hmm. First of all, we all know that me and Rebecca are your B team. We are the ones that are. we are the man. Our right fielder is sick and our pitcher is banged up. Please call in two people that can come in. So that's what we are right now. But the sad part is, I consider you my friend, Tim. Yeah. But I've seen Rebecca more than I've seen you in the last 2 years. And I've seen her twice in less than 3 months.
And you went to her hometown, though, for one.
Well, when you got to, sometimes you got to go to the source to figure out what's going on.
That's right. You got to bring the mountain to Mohammed, right?
You're going to have a hard time.
I definitely just called you a mountain. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, you lost control of this one, Tim. Please.
I lost it a long time ago. So we're recording this on Thursday, the end of June, because it's for here in the States. It is Independence Day weekend. And apparently in Canada, it's Canada Day on July 1st. And so we're recording this on Thursday. Not that anybody other than the three of us care. Mitchell cares, because that means he doesn't have to do work tomorrow. So we've got a couple stories hitting here. First, though, is AVIXA came out with a new report. It is a free report. You can get access to it. I say that because sometimes they're purchased ones, and they put a lot of resources in it. So, and we can have that discussion later about whether or not you should pay for AVIXA reports. But this one's free. It says that the Pro AV is continuing to grow, although there is certain parts where it is decelerating. Is the May AV Sales Index. It came out to a 63.2, which, excuse me, it is down from April 2022, which was at 66.7. Now, what's interesting about this is not only is the growth slowing down and contracting, but also the employment has gone down a bit as well. Elements of this report also highlight the fact that hybrid is still becoming more and more prevalent. That is the installs that people are doing. In addition to that, they're looking at the expansion in India as well as continued expansion in China. Neto, we'll start with you on this. When you look at and you talk to integrators, you talk to your customers. Chris works for Starin Marketing, so his frontline customer are integrators and folks like Rebecca. What are you hearing? Are you hearing a slowdown? Are you hearing that we're kind of decelerating in our growth, but also in employment area?
Please do not shoot the messenger here, because this is like Chicken Little that I'm about to play. But you cannot turn on the nightly news without hearing about, oh my God, the sky's falling, the economy is this, the economy is that. And after a while, you start to believe that, right? Now, AV has done very well, I guess, over the last year plus, especially in the UC side of the business, because that's what kept your businesses afloat. I mean, that's how people communicated, whether it was through Zoom or Teams or whatever UC platform you're using, and then incorporating our technology into that to do virtual events and stuff like that. And then once people started venturing outside their front door and looked and saw maybe COVID is still there, but not really ever present, then they started going out to places to see the experiential side of our business, right? The outdoor signages and open air, things, and concerts start to return. I think that's been the positive. The problem now is that there's a couple things, and it doesn't take a economics, master to tell you that products are still scarce, right? I just returned from Infocom. Everybody came to my booth and I'm a distributor. And, the punchline is, do we get product before 23? I can't control that. But one of the things that has come out of this is that, it's not just any one company that's kind of hit with this. It's everything. It's everybody. Whether it is the chemical that goes into the paint that paints that is spray painted on your speaker, to, the nuts and bolts that the installers need to install it. I'm going through that right now currently with I can't find 3 pieces of wood to fix a deck in my backyard because pressure treated wood is being bought in bulk by big companies, and they won't sell me 3 pieces of wood. I got to go find who will sell me these beams, because
I've got holes in my deck. I can't get it either.
So it's tough. It's a compounded thing, Tim. I don't think you need an AVIXA report to tell you that the economy is kind of shaky right now, right? But I think people are getting to the understanding that things are kind of weird. I think customers have allotted money for a lot of the UC stuff, and now are investing even more on the UC side. What I'm hoping is that maybe this lull that we may be going through now is because they're preparing their return, right? Because we try to jumpstart the return to work in numerous parts of this country a handful of times, and it's always been, oh, no, not yet, let's move back. And I don't want to not talk about the Great Resignation, because I think that has parts to do with it as well, where people thought they were going back with 50 people into an office, and all of a sudden half those people have decided we're not coming back. Not even back to the office. So now that changes the plan. So yeah, I think we're just in a very weird time. I think the 3rd and 4th quarter of this year is really going to show AV's strength and what we can do as far as helping these companies that right now may be a little confused as far as where they want to go. And I'm talking about the end users. I'm not even talking about the integrators. Integrators know what they want to do and what they want to get out there. I just think that right now things are a little shaky. So...
All right, Rebecca, you work for an integrator. So what are you hearing from your customers in the front line? Are they, kind of holding back? Or are they pushing forward and doing jobs?
Well, the good news about my particular company is we do a lot of jobs that are so big, like they're not going anywhere. I'm doing $2 billion stadiums right now. So those are fine, right? Those have always sort of been the staples. They're always going to be in the AV industry. What I think that we're kind of seeing right now, and this speaks to Nito's point about the economy, the recession, the Great Resignation, all that kind of stuff, but you couple that with a perfect storm of people doing it for themselves. And this is sort of a weird, when I first got into AV, nobody would touch AV gear, right? Nobody would pick up a microphone. Nobody knew how to plug it in. Nobody knew how to do all these things that we did, right? And now technology has so infiltrated our daily lives. You can't wake up without looking at a screen, without seeing a microphone, without your speaker talking to you, without something. AV is literally so inveterate in especially the American life, but let's go with, all countries really, that people now do a lot of this stuff for themselves. And so what we've been seeing is so much rapid growth in the AV industry because everybody wants more AV in their lives, and they need it because they need their hybrid workspace. They need to work from home. They need, I'm sitting here, I'm literally surrounded by 8 screens. I have 4 microphones, But now people are so used to it, they just do it themselves, right? So a lot of these sort of little things are going away. And I think that's what we're seeing, is we've seen the meteoric rise of the AV industry as it pertains to having AV around. And we've reached the pinnacle of that. And people are going to start doing it for themselves. And the integrators are going to go back to doing the things that people can't do, right? The stadiums, the line arrays, the big things, and the experiential, the retail, the immersive AV, stuff like that. So I think we're seeing a small subset of our business go back to the people, if that makes sense. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing right now.
Let me ask a general question to both of you here, because Chris, you mentioned a couple things that highlight the kind of the return of AV, and certainly the UC side of the business has seen a lot of growth. Mm-hmm. Concerts and live events are getting back, but at least in the States, and there are some other countries that are seeing a significant financial impact from all sorts of things. And I'm not an economist, and I do not understand all of the global political interactions, but I do know that the price of gas in California is $8, right? Here in Illinois and Missouri, where I am, it is generally $5, right? Let's just call it $5, which is the highest I have ever seen it in my life. You've got a inflation happening. You've got a probable recession happening, or at least a downturn happening. What does that do? Because when people start paying $5 for a gallon of gas, and they pay X amount, X, Y, and Z for the staples of life, right? Food, clothing, shelter. Concerts go away, right? Or they don't go away, but fewer people will go to them. And companies will start looking at different, projects that they may or may not, what was nice to have now isn't, it may not be on the books. What will that do, if anything, to the AV industry's finances?
Let's start with corporate travel, right? Myself and Rebecca went out to Vegas recently for InfoComm. If you ask me, InfoComm would have been a lot bigger had it not been a $1,500 flight from New Jersey to Vegas, right? I think that as wonderful as the getting back together message was, I think a lot of companies, as those prices started to go like this, started to say, we typically send 20, we're going to send 10, and then right at the last minute said we're going to send 5. Now, granted, they still reported 19,000 plus at InfoComm, which is great, but how much bigger would it have been had there not been gas, fuel? And we're only talking about gas and fuel.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to bring in the airport and the travel experiences that people are now going through with canceled flights and luggage going to Alaska, but meanwhile you're in the Dominican Republic? I mean, all of a sudden everything is upside down. I think that it's a challenge, and I think that just like we do in our personal lives, there's an issue, right? Do I go on vacation this year, right? To me, a vacation, and I've done staycation for the last 2 years at home, and I refuse to staycation anymore. That is not happening. Staycation turns into a honey-do list. Next thing you know, I'm knee-deep in rake and leaves and cutting things, and I don't want to do that. That's not my idea of vacation. But what I'm getting at is that, if I was to take a family of 4 and just say, tonight we're going to go to the movies, right? That used to be no problem every weekend kind of thing. The cost to go to the movies now all of a sudden comes into play. So let's not go to the movies, which is down the street. Let's go to Ocean City, Maryland, which is about a 3-hour drive. How much gas is that going to be to get there? And then I'm going to go to a hotel that's cut back its services, right? Because that's happening right now. I can't get room service. I have to go out, right? I can't, my room's not going to get cleaned every day unless I request it. And then it's a grudge for that to happen, and then there's always still the ever-present COVID in the background. I think that from a personal perspective, it's just that much more difficult to do things because you're taking into account all these things. And with inflation comes, again, I hate to keep tying it back to the reset and the resignation, but inflation's happening quicker than cost of living is. So there's people that are now at at that balance. They're watching the scales and going, wow, inflation went up 10% and I'm still getting a 3, right? And then next year it's going to go up another percentage. And do you get the 3? That's unknown because numbers are obviously going to be there or not there. Yeah. So it's just a very, very strange time. I know that in my own personal life, I'm looking at numbers, right? Because if this is going to get ugly in the next half to a year, what am I going to do, right? What I got to do is ensure that my company, as a business development manager, my job is to constantly prospect forward, right? What can I do to make sure that we have a pipeline? And that, you want the truth to what is in those AVIXA reports, you go out and get those pipeline or those forecasts that are being done for the, internal for companies and look at those and see where they're at. And those are the ones that take into account 53-week lead times and stuff like that. So can we expand this into a 4-part series,
Sure.
Tim? Because this is just not enough.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I'll say, Chris, so my flight to Infocom was $400 or $500, something like that, from Nashville direct Southwest. That's the most I've ever spent on a Southwest flight. I have to go back to Las Vegas in August, $750.
Oh.
Yeah, and that is for the cheapest flight I could find on Southwest. Yeah.
Well, you could take the flying bus called Spirit, but then you may not end up with one.
But then I'll have to pay like $4,000 for my bags to get checked, and I'm going for a pool tournament. And if my pool cues don't make it, I will actually hurt someone. So because that's an extra $1,500 worth of stuff right there. Yeah. So, and I can't take those on the plane. For some reason, they think they're a weapon. Giant pointy sticks with screws on the end. Who knew?
I got nothing on that. All right.
Well, Tim, you can't fly with your nunchucks anymore.
Michelangelo was my favorite turtle. All right.
I mean, he's the best. I always kind of liked Raph.
From our friends over at Rave Pubs, USAV has rebranded as Edge, quote unquote, unparalleled partnerships. I do like the alliteration. Since 2001, from the article, USAV has supported audiovisual integrators throughout the world by connecting them with manufacturers, distributors, and service providers as integrators have grown and changed over time. A necessity for the USAV brand to evolve became evident. Now, USAV is a division of PSA, and it is the AV side of that. The PSA side is more on the security side. Rebecca, we'll start with you on this. When it comes to, from the integrator side, does this move make sense, or is it just kind of a, a new paint of coat, a new coat of paint? Wow, it's only 9 o'clock in the morning.
More caffeine for Tim.
More caffeine
Come on,
for
guys.
Tim, please.
I'm gonna be that guy that just says it makes less than no difference to me at all in any way, shape, or form. I've never understood the concept of rebranding. Let's just go with the biggest example that everybody can think of these days, right? Facebook, rebranded as Meta, right? And they created all these, this lingo with the metaverse, but everybody still just calls it Facebook,
Yep.
right? Like, everybody is just going to use what they know. Edge is a generic term. To me, I don't feel like it's going to catch on, because you could say the Edge Corporation and you could be talking about anything from a razor to a cliff diving. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me, honestly. I mean, if they're going to take that rebranding and put stuff out there, I don't know. I really don't. It's Infocom going to AVIXA. Both of those are very sort of unique terms, right? Nobody's going to say AVIXA and mean something else. This is kind of just they're adopting a generic word as their brand now, and that's kind of strange to me.
It is a bit strange. I would also go down the road of guitarist for U2. So, Mr. Mr. Netto, same kind of question. Does this, what does this do for your PSAV? What does it do for USAV?
Well, speaking as a former cliff diver, both me and you, Tim, what are we going to do now? We have to get rid of our
but can you
t-shirts.
cliff dive with the nunchucks?
That's the question. I don't know, man. I'll give him. Listen, we got to give him some kudos. There is not an X anywhere in that title. That was very there was a lot of flex going on with. Let's see what I did there. There was a lot of that going on for a while. Everybody was doing everything with an X, and that was kind of trendy and cool. But this is very edgy of them. So,
oh my God, put a rim shot sound effect in there for me, please.
Please do. Now, I'm all about branding, and I'm all about branding properly. They must have come to a conclusion, and I think this is an attack on AV. Let's start the motor.
Wait. You think that Edge is an attack on AV?
I think that removing the word AV out of your brand is now the end thing, and that's the attack. Because let's be honest with you, AV, and this is a conversation we've had for many, many years, can mean a lot of different things. And it doesn't necessarily speak to what we do. If it wasn't for Stranger Things in Hawkins Middle School, nobody would have known what the AV Club was for a long time. Oh, at least my generation. Well, my kids' generation. My generation.
Yeah, we were the dorky kids on the outskirts of polite society, and now everybody does AV.
Who pushed the projector cart? And I did say projector cart, not TV cart.
Correct.
Chris and I are that old. We pushed the projector cart down. And it was a good day when you got to push the projector cart down, because that means you got a movie. So
I don't even know if there's an AV club anymore. I think it's just the IT organization now, because we know how that. To
get that level of dorky, you're going to have to go into the theater, people, which is also where I started. Same concept, but better costumes.
Art kid. True. I didn't have to go into the AV side, but I had to paint the stupid signs that went to kind of advertise those.
That's why you're in marketing. See, from the very beginning.
Technically, now I'm in sales, so it's come full circle.
Same thing.
I'm the one that's in marketing now, which is kind of weird how we did that. So,
but yeah, I mean, the idea of branding and rebranding is good, because sometimes things go stale, right? And a refresh is absolutely necessary. Most companies that will do a brand refresh will halt at just simple type fonts and stuff like that, maybe color, because
new logo.
The logos and everything can get a little challenging, as you said about Facebook. And I'm surprised that nobody mentioned that the browser Edge is out there as well, not just from the U2.
That's because nobody uses it.
Oh, somebody uses it, right?
Unfortunately, right now, I'm using it because that's where this popped up on, because I'm using a browser-based system. But I'm pretty much, I'm with the other crowd on the Chrome side most of the time. But anyway, branding is good. Branding is excellent. It's excellent, especially if something went bad or went south, and you want to kind of repurpose and reinvigorate the brand into something that there's a change. So tell me what the change is that we did this, is always kind of what I am looking for. What's that spark that ignited this? Was it a bad logo? Was it a bad name? Were you tired of it? Was it truly you wanted to get away from using the word AV in your space? Or was USAV too American? And maybe now they're expanding out to the outer edges and doing that sort of stuff. Maybe they want to go to that edge of the company.
Well, they do say a lot of stuff about international, right? And bringing in integrators from other countries and stuff like that. But I also just want to interject, because you bring up a good point. I have seen a massive shift away from acronyms. Just like everywhere. People are moving away from acronyms and trying to get buzzwords, right? Because everybody wants the TikTok hashtag or whatever. And because I think we've reached a point in the human language where there's only a finite number of acronyms in the human language, right? We can only invent so many ways to put words together. And USAV could be a lot of different things, right? I have a ASU shirt, ASU. And people always think it's Arizona State University. It's not, it's Appalachian State, because I'm from the boonies. And so I think that acronyms are becoming a little, what's the word I'm looking for?
Passe?
Yes, exactly. And people are trying to get a buzzword.
From a marketing perspective, what is trendy is trying to find, now this is where they may have a little bit of a problem, and not knowing what their marketing group or what they're doing with this is. When you're searching for company names, the thing that seems to be going now is very simple, very basic words. Meta is a very simple, basic word. 4 letters. If it's not being used by anybody, it's yours. But everybody's looking for 4-letter, 3-letter, 4-letter words, 5-letter words that kind of just are not representative of any one thing. ping and slapfish and, just little stupid little things that they can also find the domain for. Now, if you go domain searching and look for 4-letter words, not the dirty ones, but if you go look for 4-letter words and do that search, you'll find out
I own
that
all the dirty 4-letter words.
all the common ones are gone, right? All the ones that you thought was like, who went ahead and reserved, pink. Oh, go find out that there's all these other companies. Not only are they named Pink, but they're Pink with every other spelling of the word pink, with a Y instead of an I. So I can see where Edge is now. Somebody came up and said, this is great. It fits the mold. It's 4 to 5 letters. It's simple. That kind of trend is happening. So again, why am I pointing out their trends?
I want to bring up something that you said, Chris, there, and it's very important because I've said this 1,000 times. I'll say it, as many times as I need to say it. My day job is I'm head of marketing at ATI, integrated out of St. Louis. One of the things that you have to look at when you look at rebranding and new names is getting above the noise. Because you mentioned Meta, Meta and Pink, well, at two kind of extremes there. Meta has the ability, and Facebook has already a running start. But if it was somebody else starting out from scratch, one of the considerations when you do start a new company or rebrand to a completely different name is the SEO, is the website, is all this stuff. Because if somebody's just typing in your name and you're not in the top 5, the top 3 spots, then you need to pick something else, right? Or you're going to spend a lot of money both hiring people for content and hiring SEO experts or doing it internally, but you're still spending the money and the time to raise your profile and raise your search results up. So.
Right. And then you get into, like, I have a lot of trouble with, like this one right here. If somebody types in Edge, they're clearly not going to get USAV site, right? They're going to get browsers and whatever, cliff diving clubs, whatever. And I have a little bit of trouble with this. There's a couple of companies that we use, and it drives me insane that every time I don't remember their URLs, but when I need to go to their site, I always have to remember to Google company name -AV or -cables or whatever, and that is problematic as well, because if you just Google the company name, you get 15 things that are not the AV version of that company.
Well, and I'll bring one up for you. We did an interview with a group at Infocom this year, and their name was COVID. Now, a fine company, they do a good job, but their name is COVID, and right now that's not a very good name to have. And when the virus first came out, it was Corona, and we referred to it as the coronavirus, and some people still do. But the beer had to go out and make some changes. So.
And listen, I know somebody who was inside a corporate environment who was told, hey, go get a tent because you're going to go on a weekend trip. And that person said, okay, where do I buy a tent? And somebody said Dick's Sporting Goods. And that guy did not write Sporting Goods when he typed that in, because it is Dick's Sporting Goods, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you think happened there? Red lights went off, yellow things. Yeah, you need to go to a different one.
REI's website. On that note, we will say goodbye. Rebecca Sullins, thank you so much. How do people connect with you?
You can find me at rsullins@claireglobal.com. If you want to email me, you can also get me on Twitter. That's where Chris yells at me all the time, at RE.Sullins. Or LinkedIn, Rebecca Sullins, SULLINS.
All right, very good. And again, if you want Rebecca's autograph, you can go get your CTS, your CTS-I, or your CTS-D. So.
I worked really hard on that autograph. I did like 15 versions.
Good Lord, really?
I'm left-handed, and so my handwriting is just terrible. It's horrible. So I had to do a lot.
All right. Mr. Netto, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you?
Chris_Netto on Twitter, LinkedIn. You can find me there under Christopher Netto CTS.
Hey.
I will be renewing at some point and getting the new spanking brand new version with the Rebecca Sullins signature model. When I do have that, then you'll find me there at LinkedIn. You'll find me at Starin, which is the company I work for, Starin.biz. That's where we were at. And you can find me and Tim on the cover of Cliff Diver magazine, the 19
modeling their nunchucks.
The 1987 fall edition is where we were originally. It was Acapulco. It was a long time ago.
It was
but
a
you know
long
what?
time ago.
Seriously, thank you. Nunchucks and cliff diving. I don't think I've ever had that on an AV week.
No,
and
ever.
I was
Thank you.
4 in 1987. If I just,
All right.
and Tim's rubbing his face.
What's funny
he's
about
gonna
this
cut
thing
me off.
is our intrepid producer Mitchell, God love him. He turned 30 about a week or so ago, and he was born the year Mr. Netto and I graduated high school.
But
So
can we just go on record saying that you are still older than me?
I am still older than you, yes, sir.
I just look it, but he isn't.
I don't know about that, but yes, you are. I am still older than you. All right. For me, don't follow me on the Twitters. But go by the website AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. Matt Scott still hangs around and does Resi Week on a weekly basis. We've got some really great programs coming down the pipeline from our friend Dawn Mead for AV Social, the XR Star, and a whole lot others. I also point out Fuse, which is our AV user organization, fuse.avnation.tv. If you are an IT manager, a tech manager, if you are involved in managing the front lines of AV, come join us there. And we're also starting to do some local events with Fuse. So if you are in the Chicagoland area, I will be up there in August. We're having a get together, basically just kind of a happy hour on a Monday afternoon. You can hit me up on my email or on the website and find out more about that. So all that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.